And now we are going to talk to somebody that is to Miguel Ángel Álvarez. He's a agricultural engineer. He is company advisor since 1983 and also a farmer since 1993. He's no-till farming leader, and he makes us think, and he defines himself as a photosynthesis manager. And we are also going to feature Peco Repetto, who is an agricultural engineer as well, but he's been trained from an urban perspective. He was born in Buenos Aires city. He lived some time in Chicago, and he lived in different places, different farming landscapes, from Villa Maria to the Patagonia. And the motto that defines him is related to stop talking about the farming sector to start thinking of an agri-food community. Let's hear it for them both. Let's welcome Peco Repetto and Miguel Ángel Álvarez.
Bueno, acá estamos, Peco. Buenos días a todos.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Aapresid, for having invited us. Thank you to the production team. Let me clarify something. I normally participate as speakers at Aapresid congresses since the year 2000, always talking about livestock or Aula Aapresid. But now I've been invited to give my testimony. I feel a bit old if I have to give my testimony, but I guess that later I will see the tributes and then the ending. Peco, can you hear his microphone? Yes. We are agricultural engineer. We are a bit square, so to speak, Excel-minded. There's been a talk in this Aapresid Congress that, about communication. We find it hard to communicate. This is a huge challenge for us as a sector, and particularly in the case of our colleague engineers. In general, we are the left-hand side of we overuse the left-hand side of our brains, and that's why we find it hard to communicate ourselves. Besides, we are connected by, or we share the love for grapes, for wine, and what we want to share with you is related to what Miguel said. Our experience, the changes that we have experienced. And in each Congress, we see that. We see that changes are still happening, and that our dear institution, Aapresid, takes the challenge of looking beyond, of what's to come. We have a technical problem with the slides, but we're about to begin. I see some vegetables. I started working in Aapresid in 1993. I'm a life member since 2 years. I started working in the countryside, Lincoln, Roberts, different areas of the countryside. When I got to the area, They were doing conventional agriculture with plows, discs, and the soils in that area are fragile or liming clay soil, and soils start getting eroded. And I was surprised by this. I was concerned about that. And the most important thing is that we were losing very important matter, the very valuable that is soil. So we started to think, we lack information at the time. We were reading certain papers by Jinkinsella, Thomas from the United States, John Carlin, Moral Saez in Brazil. But Molina has introduced us into no-till system, but there was not much research or work on this. So we started thinking, and I said, well, let's start with no-till. Let's see if we can recover our soils. Can you tell me, please, Miguel Ángel, what did people from Lincoln used to tell you when you said, let's seed freely? What you see this is an old plow, an old direct seeder that we used in Lincoln. And we used to receive the same message as Claudio received. You're crazy. You're mad. But because there was a lot of acquired knowledge that in order to to grow crops, you needed to plow. So we needed to break the soil. And I set I set to mind the idea of not breaking the soil, but little by little, with a lot of effort, with a lot of learning throughout the process, especially through thanks to Aapresid. Aapresid was an important leader for the development of no-till farming, and it allowed us to get together and communicate, as Peco was saying, and learn among us all what we did not know, to learn from mistakes, to learn from the achievements of our neighbors. Miguel Ángel, allow me to make a comment. One of the first partners of the institution was working on a prototype of a seeder, and their neighbors used to say, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So what's the name of the seeder? Anyone? The name was, it's not going to work. That was the name of the first seeder. Milatich.
No sé si vieron en esa foto anterior la siembra.
That was plot that was rough, and I started sort of skiing in a black slope. When you start with no-till farming, what do we do? You start with wheat or soybean, but since it was a livestock field, I started with grasses. That was the most difficult thing. And when we started with crops, with sunflower, that was really difficult too at the time without herbicides. But although the disbelief, thanks to the contribution of many colleagues from Aapresid, it really worked. What about your beginnings in Azul? Well, we work in a very cold area. There are very technical things related, but when the temperatures are low, stubble do not decompose and a lot of matter gets accumulated, and that complicates matters because the idea for no-till farming is to try to replicate what nature does. In nature, there's no plowing, there's no uncovering of the floor. What you see in nature is that crops spring and blossom on top of other vegetable residue. This is what no-till farming tries to replicate. And in my area, it is precisely due to the low temperature, is a bit more complicated because but changes and we found a revolutionary tool, a way we could cut off that big volume of stubble and be able to have a small season with no-till farming, thanks to a specific tool to break the ground of thick layers of stubble. This is a team where we have a common friend, Peco, an engineer, a great teacher of the agronomous agricultural studies, and he taught us to look at the plot in a different way. He used to say, Miguel Ángel, you have to go to the plot of land, turn off the radio, turn off the truck, and let the plot speak to you. The plot is like a patient, and you need to listen to it and understand it. That's the vision that we started learning from him by getting together and by communicating with one another. Teamwork and working in a network has intensified thanks to technology, and this allows us to find the solution to common problems in this sector. So it's key, and that's why what Miguel Ángel mentioned is so important: teamwork and interinstitutional work. We are constantly working with INTA, public institutions, private institutions, universities, seeking solutions to the problems that come up in farming. And to me, it's a great honor to be here. When I look at this image, when I look at this picture, being seated next to who I think is the father of Aapresid classroom. Why? Because he was the first to get to a school where he had to give a talk to a school. And here we go back to the question of communication, the problem of communication we have as sectors. And we have our colleagues to be able to explain how we work, what we do, and that we do things professionally well. And we do our work based on science. Yes, 15 years ago, the Bill 125 has been presented in Congress, and we were thinking of how we could produce in the farming community. And I received a text from a primary and secondary school of the province of Buenos Aires, where I saw certain animosity and a lot of incorrect information. We work well, I thought, but we do not communicate well. We are not good communicators. And who is going to communicate on our behalf? Well, we have to take that task. We have to open the gates and learn and how to communicate. And now we will have to go out and teach. That was in March.
PowerPoint en ese momento.
I prepared a PowerPoint presentation back then with some photos of mine, some pics from Aapresid, and I put together like a short story that I wove together. This is the first Aula Aapresid talk that was broadcast. This was in 2010 in Lincoln. This was my kids' school, and first of all, well, I had stage fear. I didn't know how to use a cultivator, a seeder, a harvester, and so on. But talking to people and telling them why we do what we do, well, that was really tough. So, well, that's how we finally managed. At the beginning, we had the Aula Aapresid plan, but it was difficult to get more soldiers because we had stage fright. Little by little, more people joined in, and now, well, we have Aula Aapresid, which has materialized and very successfully. So, well, this was done. This is work that is done at every level, in rural schools, at urban schools, even universities. And this is part and parcel of this, of communication. I remember having gone to Cachari, a very small town to the north of the city of Azul, and when we were done delivering our presentation, a teacher came up and she said, "I thought no-till was a bad thing." And well, how important it really is for us to tell our story and to say why we do it and how we do it, because if we do not do it ourselves, nobody will do it. And this is what ends up happening. Imagine a school teacher who thinks that no-till is a bad thing, when it's part and parcel, because, well, at the congresses we're already seeing that this goes far beyond, and we are talking a lot about service crops and integrated systems and so on. And this takes us back to what Miguel was saying on rotation, pastures and livestock raising and crop farming and so on. So we had to come out and communicate stuff and get in touch with people. So, well, when it comes to reaching out to other people, we thought about traveling elsewhere as well, not just remaining domestically. So in this case, I visited Africa. This is a picture from Kenya. This is the first no-till plot planted in Narok. Narok is the city that is the birthplace of a lot of marathon runners. So you also traveled abroad, right? Yeah, I traveled to Illinois with and we spent time with farmers from across the world, but we especially spent time with farmers from Asia and Africa. And there is very little no-till in those continents, and there is very little technology as well. So together with colleagues in Aapresid, we had the opportunity of spending time in a storytelling course, which has to do with this exactly. It has to do with sharing stories from a very personal standpoint, sharing with people what we do, how we do it, why. And this is an effort that is so important because it is being done in continents where there are restrictions for many technologies, and it is there that the farmer should be the one that comes out and tells his or her story. And also, it's important that we say that it's a good thing, because at the end of the day, when we serve food on our tables, well, that has to do with farming, doesn't it? Okay, so this is part of what we do. This is our Tandilia office, and this is a picture of us making a walkthrough of trial plots. So there are people like Fernando Andrade from INTA, the National Institute of Agricultural Technology. So there are always knowledge leaders that join in. So the goal here is to have an exchange and generate more and more knowledge. So this is a pic of our regional office. There is a mobile one. Well, it's made up mostly of agronomists. So we've talked about bread and wine, and we need to talk about barbecue now, right? Well, livestock raising is one of my passions, and during the first Aapresid congresses, we were so concerned about preserving the soil that nobody would dare speak of cows, because, well, Aapresid was just about no-till farming, so it was crop farming, so cows were not even mentioned. And I was just only starting to do no-till, but for livestock raising. So a number of years elapsed, and in 2010, the first livestock raising panel was held in congresses. At the beginning, the presentations were given in very small rooms that were way back in the exhibition area. So it was about learning about ourselves. We had thought that no-till was just about crop farming, but now we can see that livestock raising is also also included in integrated systems. So that was a lesson that we as an institution also had to learn. So livestock raising is intimately included in all farming enterprises or undertakings, and we can see this in different editions of our Congress of Aapresid. So I think that, yeah, we have used up the time allotted to us. So this was our idea, our goal. Our goal was to learn and to get in touch with our peers, with schools, with the entire agribusiness community. So this is a path of learning. So it's been a real pleasure to share this panel with you guys. Thank you. Thank you.